Hi guys, and welcome to the Sideline Show. I'm Bruce McLean, and I'm joined here with Matthew Nessel. To start off today's episode, let's do a quick recap of Game 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals, where the Boston Celtics narrowly edged out the Miami Heat to draw at Game 7. Do you want to talk about that game a little bit?
Yeah, it was a game that it really felt like the entire time you were watching it, like, okay, we're going to get a Game 7. You know, the Celtics looked better than them. Jimmy Butler just had a terrible game from the field up until the very end.
Yeah, he went off a little bit at the fourth quarter.
Yeah, but mostly from the line, and then he hit
from
three.
the line. Yeah, I think he finished the game 4 for 21, right? Is that correct?
Yeah.
5 for 21. That's sufficient.
Yeah, which does mean he hit his last two, though, because he was 3 for 19.
Yeah.
So,
But 12 for 14 from the line, so he found a way to get 24 points in the game. He had 8 assists and 11 rebounds. But the real MVP for the Miami Heat was Caleb Martin in that game. He kept him in the game.
Yeah, well, actually, in my opinion, up until he missed those two shots, it was Duncan Robinson. He got a lot of heat on the internet and, in the media for missing.
Yeah, he was 3 for 4 at a point from 3, and then he just missed the last 2.
Yeah, and they were obviously that first one,
dribble.
No one is around him. That is psychologically very hard. You're expecting a contest, and now you're wide open. It's hard to not get in your own head on that. And then that second one, the in rhythm one, you just had that miss, and it just barely misses. 2 tough misses, but he had 10 points in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, he ended the game with 13, so he really showed up in the fourth quarter. He didn't get a lot of minutes before that fourth quarter. And also, when you look at him missing that shot, it's the same thing I was talking about earlier in the playoffs when I said you want LeBron to take the shots even if he misses it because you want your best guy. Like, if Jimmy Butler is shooting 5 for 21 and he's not a notoriously great three-point shooter, if he's taking the 3 and he misses it, you're like, well, why didn't you pass it to Duncan Robinson? You're passing it to your best shooter on your team.
Yeah, you're cool with Duncan taking that.
Yeah, I mean...
And I think the thing is, even though he missed those shots, while a lot of people maybe criticized him and say he shouldn't be playing in that time, clearly Coach Spo realized that's just, he missed 2 shots. It's whatever. It's not indicative of who he is as a player. And instead he looked more at those 10 points because he went to him heavily again in Game 7.
Yeah. Speaking on the Celtics in that game, Tatum had a very solid game. He didn't shoot the ball very well, but he found his way to get his points. Marcus Smart had his best game of the series, and so did Jaylen Brown. That was a huge game for Jaylen Brown in that Game 6. You almost thought he was back to being himself and not hating the sport of basketball. Funnily enough, though, Marcus Smart, whenever he was playing, the Heat went on runs. And you kind of expect him to be that defensive guy, but he was more of a presence on offense.
Yeah, I think they said the first time in his career with Games 5 and 6 that he had scored 20 or more in back-to-back games in the playoffs.
Really?
And they said he hasn't done it much in the regular season too, which makes sense. But you can always count on him in a playoff series to give you 20 in 1 or 2 games. He just kind of has an outburst like that, and it helped a lot in that game. But when you look at it, it was great Marcus Smart game. Tatum got his, Brown got his,
and then obviously the way it ended with Derek White.
Yeah, but even without that, you're thinking, all right, we got it wrapped up. We're up 10 with a minute and a half left, and they just collapse.
Oh yeah,
it was bad.
Well, it was a collapse, but at the same time, Jimmy Butler went off,
just drawing fouls. I mean, it was just
it was dumb basketball by the Celtics at the end of the game.
Yeah, and it's a theme that we've seen a lot of them not being able to close stuff
Horford,
out.
Complete non-factor, but they put Grant Williams in at the end.
Yeah.
Robert Williams got a lot of minutes too.
And then we saw them go back to that in Game 7.
Yeah, I mean, because Grant Williams played terribly too. Grant Williams and Al Horford combined for 5 points in 54 minutes.
Yeah. I don't know though. I mean, it felt like, I guess, to a lot of people after that Derek White tip-in, the series was over. And
yeah. Well,
win, but
turns out though too is that the Celtics won a game shooting 20% from 3, so that's something they weren't able to do.
Yeah, I guess you could look at it that way, but from what I looked at it, it was that game to me shows who the Celtics really are, right? They got those performances and still was only able to eke out a win. And if there was a team well equipped to go into a Game 7 facing all that adversity,
it was the Miami Heat.
Yeah, it's the Heat. And they came ready to play. Not out of the gates, but they took control by the end of the first, and I mean, they just kept going.
Yeah. Then we move along to Game 7, where it was the Heat show, pretty much. I mean,
yeah. That's what I'm saying.
They gained control in the first half, and then they kept their foot on the gas in the second half.
It was like Tatum got hurt on that first play.
Yeah, that was tough. 26 seconds into the game, Tatum rolls his ankle.
They still kind of stumbled out of the gates after that. Brown hit those first couple shots. But then second half of that first quarter, they start to get going a little more, right? And, by the end of the quarter, they were up 7. And now you get into the second quarter, they just keep extending that lead. But it got a little bit scary there at the end of the half.
In my opinion, the Heat were not playing good basketball to start the game. It was worse and worse.
The Heat...
it was bad and worse. Sorry, the Heat were bad, the Celtics were worse. The Heat were playing terrible basketball to start the game. Gabe Vincent was taking half of the shots, and he wasn't hitting any of them.
Yeah, he was hitting something. He hit a big corner 3 early on. My issue was I think both teams just struggled to execute offensively, but a lot of that on the Celtics was just poor shot selection.
Oh my gosh, they were taking really stupid shots early in the shot clock.
They were pressing heavily, but a lot of that is credit to the Heat defense that kind of maybe forced them into those looks. I think they had a very good game plan, and for however much Bam may have struggled on the offensive end,
he was great on the defensive end. 26% in the whole series was what people were shooting against him.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
He really did a great job on that end yesterday. And the thing is, the Celtics couldn't capitalize while the Heat kind of were faltering on that end, and you were going through a tough Bam stretch, right? They got that little push at the end of the half where they got it from like 17 to 11 and a half, right? And then they got it to 6 in I think it was the end of the third quarter, maybe. When they got it, when was it when they got it to 6? I feel like it was the third, right?
No.
Yeah, no, it was. It was because it was when Bam was.
He was.
Yeah, when Bam was doing Bam things. So they kind of capitalized off it. They got it to 6, but that was it. They couldn't get past there, couldn't get over the hump, and a lot of that is due to Caleb Martin and Derek White. Got into a shootout at the end of that third quarter, and Caleb Martin won, mostly because they just took out Derek White for some reason.
Yeah, Caleb Martin wasn't the MVP of the series, but
he should have been.
He probably should have been. Butler was scoring more, but Caleb Martin shot 60% all series and was shooting like some crazy...
He was also a force on the boards. I mean...
last night he had 10.
He was crashing on every single play. He got a lot of huge offensive rebounds for them. And he kind of reminds me a lot in just the rebounding aspect of PJ Tucker, who was his teammate last year. So you have to wonder if maybe that rubbed off on him a little bit.
Yeah. Jimmy Butler did kind of look a little bit unlike his true self.
He really has all series.
Yeah,
I think it's the ankle.
I think it's the ankle too, and there's just no way that you beat Jokic like that.
Yeah, no, he's got to play like he did in the Bucks series for him to have a chance. But
even the Knicks series,
he wasn't that much of a force versus you guys. Like I don't know. He isn't a guy I think who gets a lot of elevation on his shots, so it shouldn't impact him that much. But like a lot of his shots seem like he's barely elevating because of that ankle. So I don't know. I think that if he doesn't play like he has earlier, that series could get wrapped up early. But I don't know. The Heat are just gonna find a way to be competitive.
Yeah, I think they find ways to win games. Now the Celtics. I don't know what you do. You kind of Jaylen Brown does not want to play basketball right now. That's what it looks like from a fan perspective.
I think he might. I think he got up for that game. I think he just kind of sucked.
Yeah, like 8 for 23. I don't know.
No, I don't even have a problem with the shooting. It was the 8 turnovers. That was
8 turnovers. Bad.
At a point, he had 8 turnovers, and the Heat as a team had 7.
7, yeah.
That just can't happen, and a lot of it is it's been a criticism for him for years, right? But he can't dribble. He's just terrible at dribbling. He's, of all the people who are considered stars in the league, probably the worst ball handler. And the Heat took advantage of that. I think it was Stan Van Gundy said it on the broadcast, but once you get him forced left and he has to favor that left hand, a lot of the times you saw it yesterday, it wasn't even they were stealing it. He just lost his dribble.
Yeah, he did. I mean, in the first quarter even. Celtics, one positive though, they played Peyton Pritchard. Udonis Haslem did not play. So I don't know.
I thought it was hilarious when
the Grant Williams and then the bench guys.
But I thought it was hilarious when the Heat were going on that run and they were making all those threes, and the Celtics counter was like, well, we want to hit threes too. We'll sub Sam Hauser.
Yeah.
And then they didn't even get him the ball to hit threes. But it's like, maybe instead you just try to stop letting them take wide open threes. Probably would have went with a more defensive oriented lineup than just going with Sam Hauser.
Listen, you want to, shoot or shoot. That's pretty much it for that game.
Future of the Celtics is interesting, though.
That's true. The future of the Celtics is interesting. What do you do with your coaching situation? I guess you try to keep...
You have to keep Mazzulla at this point because...
You buy in.
Who are your other options? I guess you could go with, Monty, maybe.
Go back to Doc.
None of those... You would keep Mazzulla. And I still think, Mazzulla, I haven't been a fan of him all season, but I do think the hatred for him...
I think the first 3 games, the hatred was reasonable. But the last 4 games, it's not his fault that they lost this one. Valiant effort by the Celtics, by the way. But the Heat just have that competitive edge. You see that they buy their plane tickets to
that was cool.
to Denver.
Yeah,
that was cool. Of course, it's reportedly. You don't know if that's exactly true.
No, they did, because you can see where the planes are chartered to.
Oh,
yeah.
That's cool. That's good. That's good by the Heat.
I think the thing with the Celtics, right, is they're a team that relies so heavily on the 3-pointer that
they shot at 20% yesterday.
Yeah, eventually you're gonna have it's just how percentages work. You're gonna have a variance game where you just shoot poorly, and when you put yourself in a 3-0 hole and you essentially need to shoot the lights out 4 games in a row, you are bound to have a game where you don't.
Yeah.
So that's a team for them. It's gonna be hard to come back from that 3-0. But then again, we look at it. It's Tatum doesn't get hurt. Who knows what happens in that game?
In that game, yeah. Tatum wasn't even shooting the ball. He was that beat up.
Yeah, but I will say, respect to him for kind of gutting it out.
Yeah, he was not himself.
There was the funniest play of the game was he got the matchup on Jimmy Butler, and it was I don't think I'd ever seen defense played as poorly as it was on that possession. He can't move, obviously.
Yeah.
He has one ankle, so Jimmy just takes one dribble and he's by him and he just gets a free dunk. That was when you knew they had just given up. I think it was late in the 4th quarter.
Yeah, actually, it was on the... Yeah, I saw that. Anyways, we could do early predictions for the Nuggets versus Heat series that starts on Thursday night. Nuggets haven't played since May 22nd, and the Heat were just in a grueling 7-game series. I expect...
The first game's going to be interesting. Because
the first game's going to be interesting, but
to an extent...
the Nuggets probably won't lose at home.
I don't know. The thing is, rest is nice and all, and I think that'll pay off later in the series. Early in the series...
They're going to be a little rusty.
Yeah, and...
The thing is, Jokic's game isn't the kind of game that you're very rusty from.
Right, but the shooters...
and that's how he...
The shooters could be rusty, and the thing is, I saw a stat, obviously we know the Heat are the team that plays the zone most of anyone, but what most people don't know is the team that is best against the zone, the Denver Nuggets.
Yeah.
Which makes sense because,
Jokic.
that team is, with Jokic.
And then they have the
cutters, shooters. That is a zone beating
team. Yeah, Aaron Gordon who can do kind of both. Jamal Murray do both. I do expect the Nuggets to win in 5, though.
See, here's the thing, right? I just don't know what Heat team we're getting, right? Because we saw, if it's the Heat team we saw in the Bucks series or the Knicks series, that Heat team very well could win the series, right?
Yeah.
If it's the Heat team we saw in games 1 through 3, that Heat team could win the series. But then that Heat team that we saw in games 4, 5, and 6, maybe not 6, but in 4 and 5, that looked like the regular season Heat.
Yeah, it did.
And I think the interesting thing is, right, we saw Tyler Hero's going to be back by at the very least game 3. They said. What does he do for this team? Because they've looked better without him. Not to say that he's holding them back or anything, but I think that him not being there kind of defined everybody else's roles a little more, right? And you got Kyle Lowry on the ball a little more. I don't know if his presence in the lineup will help or hurt.
Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see.
I imagine by that point in the series, though, they will need his scoring. They will need some fresh legs.
Yeah.
And I see him as kind of a spark plug that I guess
Yeah, he's got to come off the bench, I think.
Yeah. Back to the 6-man role that he's thrived in.
One thing I forgot to mention it in when we were talking about Game 6. Game 7 shouldn't have even happened when you look at the mismanagement of the clock.
Yeah.
I mean, they called Jimmy Butler's foul at 3 seconds when it was at 2.9 seconds, and then they started the clock late on the inbound, and then they literally ended the game with less than a tenth of a second left in the game. So,
they tried to explain it in the 2-minute report. It didn't make sense to me because they were claiming the foul happened at 3. But if you were calling that foul at 3 seconds, that was not.
I would have been on the floor.
Yeah, so then he should have been taking 2 free throws. I think they messed that one up, and they just didn't want to say it. The officiating that whole game was terrible.
Yeah,
suspect even.
Yeah, suspect.
But
also when you look at in Game 4, of the Lakers Nuggets series, there was a call that the weekly report for the NBA officiating. Yeah, the 2-minute report. They said there was a foul that was called, or there was like an out of bounds ball that they said was off the Lakers and it was off the Nuggets and it was the game winning shot.
Huh?
Or something like that. I just read something about that.
But. Oh no, it was they said that it was a clean block on which it was in my opinion.
I don't know. Yeah, and then they called it a foul, and then
no, they called it. It was the when LeBron got stuffed on the final play of the game.
It wasn't that.
Well, the Lakers fans were talking about that because they thought it was a foul, but it was not.
No, it wasn't a foul. I'll look into that and then I'll mention it tomorrow if I find it. Anyways, with more on NBA, we have new hirings. The 76ers hire Nick Nurse. And the Phoenix Suns, who did they hire?
No, not the Bucks.
Oh, the Bucks. Yeah.
Adrian Griffin.
Yeah, Adrian Griffin. So the Raptors lost their whole staff.
Yeah. Well, actually, I'll bring up the Raptors in a second. What's interesting to me is that Nick Nurse bowed out of the Bucks race. Like he was in it and he removed himself.
So I guess he really wants to work with Harden and. But I don't think Harden's
Not
staying.
Harden. He wanted to work with Embiid. Yeah. But I think as much as it may have been that, I think like he did that before getting the Sixers job. To me, that makes me wonder what's happening in Milwaukee, right? Why wouldn't you want to coach? If the job was his, why wouldn't he want to coach Giannis? Why wouldn't he want to coach Holiday? Why wouldn't he want to coach Middleton? I think that maybe some of the rumors we've heard about a potential Giannis trade or Giannis departure and free agency could come to fruition, and I think maybe he heard about that and he said, I have better options, safer options.
Yeah, and also you start to look at what Giannis has been doing with the media recently. You gotta wonder if he's a head case.
Oh, well, he did some weird recently.
I mean,
right?
yeah, in the media he lashed out on the media for asking him if he was disappointed with if he thought the season was a failure.
Yeah. But he
completely lashed out.
He said something weird last week too.
He goes, "I'm done with the disrespect. I'm coming."
Oh yeah,
I mean,
I don't know.
Who disrespected? He didn't win the MVP this year. Oh no, he lost in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't know.
He's disrespecting himself. I don't know. Of course, he's one of the best players in the NBA, and if he does end up leaving Milwaukee, whether it's because he wants to or not, I mean, the things he did for the city of Milwaukee are.
Yeah, he'll only leave if he wants it. They will not willingly ever.
Yeah, I mean the reason, if he wants to leave Milwaukee, if he doesn't think he can do anything else in Milwaukee, that's completely fine. The things he did for Milwaukee, they should be eternally.
He's not gonna get a better supporting cast anywhere else, though.
No, especially if you're getting traded.
I wonder though. Maybe Brook Lopez is gone. You know, maybe if Nick Nurse heard about it, maybe Brook Lopez has, and where would he land? That's a guy who.
Yeah,
who
that's
was
a guy that
maybe should have won Defensive Player of the Year, and that would be an amazing fit. And
amazing fit for Luka. Yeah,
that is a very good call, and we have heard that the Mavericks are building as if
gosh, I can't wait for Luka to leave
building
Dallas.
Around Luka and Kyrie.
I cannot wait for Luka to leave Dallas.
I don't think he will.
Gosh. I think he will.
I don't think he will.
Actually, you know what though? He gets to do whatever he wants in Dallas.
They said that they're gonna spend big though, and I was wondering who could that be. It's a weak free agency class. Brook Lopez. That could be. I could see that would be an impact signing, and that could be the type of thing that maybe Kyrie sees that and he's like, "Ooh, I want to stay too."
Yeah, I mean, a lot's gonna happen in this NBA offseason, I think, because of how much parity there was in this.
I think we're gonna get a lot of trades.
Yeah,
especially
because it's a weak free agency class.
But we could see a lot of disgruntled stars, and the new CBA is going to mess up a lot of people's salary cap sheets.
Yeah.
So I see people kind of maybe trying to go for it now or trying to get off of guys now to reset their tax. Ooh. I mean,
it's going to be exciting. That'll be fun to look forward to. That's pretty much it with NBA news, right?
Except for the Suns are interested in Doc. And the Raptors are probably going to hire Steve Nash.
Steve Nash to the Six. Yeah,
I don't know how you could see a division rival have him as their coach, or and
completely dominate him. Good for the Raptors, man.
Yeah, I'd love to see it.
Oh, no Raptors legend Kyle Lowry played great last night. By the way, I don't think we mentioned that. Played great defense. And when he was on the court, the Heat were just playing really well, but he didn't even play that well.
Kyle's just a winning player.
He's just a winning player. He just knows how to win, just like Steve Nash. Oh wait. Moving on to NHL, the Golden Knights beat the Stars yesterday in dominant fashion, 6-0 on the Stars' home arena.
I think they jumped out to a 4-0 lead in the first period.
Yeah, I mean it was absolutely ridiculous. The Stars just winning 2 games, an overtime thriller on Thursday night, and then on Saturday night they won by 2 in Vegas, and then.
Yeah. Had to win that game if you're Vegas. Put the foot down and say, no, we are not going to Game 7.
Yeah, I mean...
Not after we were up 3-0, and they got it.
Now the Panthers get to play the Golden Knights in the Stanley Cup Final. This was a cool stat that you showed me yesterday after last night's, to go with like hockey and basketball. The city of Boston is the first city of all time to lose 2 Game 7s in your home arena by an 8 seed. In the same year, the Bruins and the Celtics. So go you, Boston!
Making history. That's what they wanted to do last night, right?
Boston,
make history.
Boston is the city of history.
Yeah, they accomplished their goal, made history. Good job, Boston.
Great job, Boston. You are the city of sports. And the Red Sox suck too.
Yeah.
So
killing it.
Yeah, doing a great job. They might be the 8 seed in the AL. So there you go.
Probably have a better record than division winners though. Still.
Yeah. Well. Anyways, so the Golden Knights are going to play the Panthers.
Chucky's going to be ready, well rested. I'm expecting big things out of him. Game 1.
Yeah, I'm excited for that series. I don't know what day does it start. I have no idea.
I want to say Wednesday, maybe. I don't know.
Probably Thursday.
I feel like it's Wednesday.
All right. Well, yeah. Don't show us. Saturday. I was closer.
Big rest.
Saturday, June 3rd. That's the same day as Game 2 of the NBA Finals. So
No, Game 2 of the Finals is Sunday. They have a 2-day break. It's weird. They showed the schedule during yesterday's game.
Really? That's not too. Oh yeah, it is 2 days. Oh, I forgot they did that. I hate that.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
then
that's
because they wanted to get a game on Friday.
Yeah, the next Friday. Anyways, yeah, that's pretty much it for NHL news. Panthers versus Golden Knights in the Stanley Cup Finals. We're gonna move on to something we haven't covered yet: the NCAA Men's Lacrosse Championship, National Championship. Where on Saturday we saw
some amazing games.
Great games. 2 overtime thrillers: Duke versus Penn State and Notre Dame versus Virginia. There's a lot of controversy in that Duke versus.
He was in the crease.
He was in the crease, and in lacrosse, I don't know if it's just a college thing, but you can't review like penalties.
Yeah, dude. The only thing you can review
is when the shot comes out.
which
we actually saw in the week before in
Yeah.
the Army versus Penn State game, the game that Penn State got in, and Army barely missed the game tying shot. Well, they made the shot, but it was like 0.1 seconds too late.
It makes no sense in today's day and age to not have a full replay
I mean,
system. In fact, actually, we saw the NBA is probably going to allow teams to get a second challenge next year if you win your own. So you see every sport is kind of evolving with that. It's weird that lacrosse doesn't have that, and it sucks for Penn State.
It sucks for Penn State. Duke
should have won.
No guarantee they would have won that game. Duke was playing really poor lacrosse for a lot of that game. There was like 3 transition goals where they just basically placed the ball from their stick to the goalie's net, to the goalie's stick. I mean, just a free goal, and they just didn't capitalize on it. And Penn State wasn't making mistakes.
You even looked at the end of regulation. The dude who ended up hitting the game winner had a good look at that goal off the feed from, I believe it was Brendan O'Neill, who was absolutely silent. He's supposed to be the best player in college lacrosse for context. He did nothing in the second half.
He scored 3 goals
in the first half.
Yeah, in the first half, and in the second half,
he did
and he wasn't taking shots.
Yeah, and then he did it again in the next game.
Yeah, so Notre Dame beats Virginia in an overtime thriller. Yeah, that was a great lacrosse game.
And you didn't stay to watch it.
Yeah, I was down in Philly for the Duke game, and then I had to go, so I didn't get to watch all of the Notre Dame Virginia game.
You should have stayed.
Well, I left when it was like 8-3, or something like that.
It was never a blowout.
It wasn't like a blowout.
Oh wait, so you did stay for some of it?
A little bit.
Oh, I thought you didn't go. Oh, okay. But yeah, great game, and the Notre Dame goalie, who also an ancestor of Entenmann's cookies.
Entenmann's, not Entenmann's?
I don't know how to pronounce it, but he is.
Entenmann's?
That family who makes the cookies, he is an ancestor or a descendant of them, and he killed it. Great goalie, great game.
I don't know. Is he a senior?
Maybe.
I don't know either. Wow. I mean, I didn't really get to see the magic in that Virginia game. I don't know if he had any crazy saves, but against Duke, he saved 70% of the shots. I mean,
he was the difference in the game, and
that's essentially like hitting 70% of your 3-pointers. Like he saved 70% of the shots. He was the reason they won that game.
And a lot of them just tough saves.
Tough saves.
Too.
And it's never the goalie's fault, but the Duke goalie was not doing the same.
But at the same time, you can't expect him to do this. I mean,
you can't expect him to do there was some goals that they thought.
Maybe there's some goals he should have saved.
And there was some officiating, by the way. The same thing that Duke won that game in Penn State against.
I don't think that should have been a goal. Because think about it, right?
No, I know, but I guess the goalie had like a bad. The ref had a bad angle. I mean, I saw it clear as day that his feet were in the crease. I don't even watch the. But yesterday.
Yeah, no, I'm talking. Oh, you're talking about the flag.
Oh well, I thought that probably should have been a goal.
I don't think it should.
But also the goal that Notre Dame got in transition when the goalie went in and out of the crease.
Goalie went in and out
with a ball. That's a turnover.
Oh, you can't do that?
No, once you go out of the crease and you go back in, it's a turnover with a ball.
Oh.
Yeah,
that's a fun rule.
Once you're out of the crease, you're out of the crease. I wonder if Teo knows.
He definitely knows.
Yeah, he definitely knows. And then they scored like on that transition. But honestly,
who did it benefit? It was the Duke goal.
it benefited Notre Dame.
Oh.
It was 2-1, and then it was 3-1 because they scored an easy transition goal.
It was Entenmann that went in.
Yeah, and then it was 3-1, and then they had the shove in, and then they didn't get the goal on it, and they got the 32nd player up. Oh,
kind of a smart play. It's kind of like the take foul in the NBA.
Yeah, it is.
If someone is right there in the crease, just push them.
Push them in.
Take the 30-second penalty.
Yeah, lacrosse is a violent sport, though. Anyways, Notre Dame, Duke got it close. They were completely getting blown out, 6-1 going into the second half. They made it a 7-7 game. Great rally. Shows that they might have been the better team in that game, but lost all legs. Who's the Notre Dame's player? Kavanaugh. The Kavanaugh brothers, the senior Kavanaugh, playing on a bad hamstring, really showed up. Played some great lacrosse, and they were able to win that game. That's a great moment for Notre Dame. Their first win in school history in the tournament.
And it's crazy they did that they were on the brink of elimination in that Virginia game, right? Like
they
only barely tied that game up to send it to overtime, and then even in overtime, they won on one of the craziest shots I've ever seen as he bounced it over the goalie's shoulder when the goalie had that side of the goal sealed off. It was, I don't know if it was what he was trying to do, but if it was, what a shot.
Yeah. So, congrats to Notre Dame. And it was a really, really fun tournament to watch, especially neither of us really watched lacrosse too much, and that was a fun tournament for us to watch.
Lacrosse will be one of the top viewed sports in America within the next 5 to 10 years.
They just got to get the PLL.
The PLL has legitimate investors.
It does, and it's growing.
A lot of big names are invested in it.
And Duke's Brennan O'Neill, by the way, he's coming back next year.
Yeah, that's good for every other team in the league.
Anyways, going to the MLB, Aaron Judge on an absolute tear. 2 home runs last night, a home run the day before.
And a robbed home run last night.
A robbed home run, too. It probably should have been 3 home runs.
No. He did the robbery.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, you're right. He robbed, who was it? It was,
Teoscar.
Yeah, Teoscar Hernandez. They had a little, fun little feud on Twitter. He was like, Aaron Judge, are you serious, man? And then Aaron Judge, goes, I've seen you hit too many of those over my head. Let me get one. So that was funny. Some playful, banter within the MLB
Why I ranked him at number 1 in the last episode, by the way.
Aaron Judge. That's why.
Better than Shohei.
Yeah, and Shohei, by the way, this weekend had a great performance in an Angels 8-5 loss because he gave up 1 run in 6 innings. So the bullpen had to give up 7.
Just be better. Judge hasn't given up a run all year.
Aaron Judge does have, in fact, the lowest ERA in MLB history.
Yeah. Same with IKF.
Ben Joyce called up to the majors, speaking on the Angels. Throwing absolute gas out of the pen.
His sinker velocity in his first
Yeah,
inning?
101.
Every single one was
Over
101 or higher, or over 100.
Yeah, absolutely ridiculous. Just picking up where he left off in Tennessee, throwing absolute gas. Makes sense why he's already in the major leagues after only being drafted last year.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy.
Well, and I think he could be kind of the model for a lot of college baseball players where maybe now teams...
You go 4 years in college.
Yeah, and maybe teams now will be less hesitant to call people up. Because I think what you see with a lot of guys in the league is they weren't getting called up till later in their careers. And you have a guy like Aaron Judge.
Yeah, look at the best guy in the MLB.
He's already, number 1.
Shohei didn't get into the league until he was like 27. So neither did Judge.
That's a different story. You just said he was the best player. But
I'm biased. I made my list unbiased. I said Shohei was the best player. I root against Shohei. I actually like Shohei.
But I think teams are kind of starting to realize the value of calling your guys up earlier, and I think maybe he could be a model for that. Where if your guy went to college, you just trust the development that they had there. Try to teach him what you can, but the best development a player's going to have is being up in the big leagues.
Also, it's different for pitchers.
True.
For a hitter, you're going from the middle to the wood, which is different, and you're going to better stuff. So it's a little different.
That's true.
So for pitchers, I mean, when you look at a guy like Vanderbilt had Kumar Rocker and
he got Tommy John.
Yeah, and Jack Leiter. They had that crazy 1-2. The Rangers got them both, right?
Yeah, well, the Mets had Rocker first, and then they just didn't sign him.
Yeah. And then
and then the Rangers picked him up the next year.
Yeah, and neither of them are, and you probably like they're pitchers.
Well, Rocker had the injury concerns, and then he actually did get injured this year.
Unfortunately.
Later, I think we're gonna see soon.
But you just wonder why they're waiting. But when you're looking at the hitting end on the opposite scale, I might have to disagree. I mean, you look at Volpe and his struggles right now.
True, but I think you see it around the league. I guess Volpe struggled. Jordan Walker, Cardinals also called him up.
Francisco Alvarez, one of the best offensive catchers in the MLB right now.
Yeah, that's the other side of the coin. He's killing it, but also the Mets brought him up last year. But maybe they should have even brought him up earlier last year. They had the worst catching duo in the league and didn't bring up their top prospect who was a catcher.
Nimmo's nice.
No, Nitto.
Nitto, right. I knew it wasn't Nimmo.
Nimmo is the outfielder.
Yeah, Nimmo as a...
Him and James McCann, two of Frank the Tank's favorites.
We gotta get Frank the Tank on the podcast.
That would be fun.
Texas Rangers, by the way, speaking of them, absolutely not ice cold, red hot, playing some great baseball, exceeding expectations, but it's not surprising to people that are following their roster. I mean, Marcus Semien, Corey Seager. Corey Seager. Yeah, we're tired.
They bring it back.
Yeah. I mean, hey, little Gronk moment. And we have Adolis Garcia, right?
Adolis been killing it.
Yeah.
And, I mean, we know they signed DeGrom. He's
had
an injury.
I mean, if he figures it out, though, and he can be your ace in the playoffs, come on. Make him throw 98. Tell him to throw 98, and he will be there for the whole season.
It's a weak division, but it's a division that they have seized that opportunity. And it's another example of in baseball, if you spend money, good things will happen, right? Like, the Rangers were one of the worst teams in the league, and then their owner just spent a lot of money, and now they're one of the best teams in the league.
Speaking of one of a historic team in the MLB this year has been the Oakland Athletics.
And they did not spend money. And
they spent no money. The only team they can beat is probably the New York Yankees.
They didn't.
They didn't, though.
Yeah.
They're terrible. They are on pace to win like 30 games.
I think the stat is the Rays started off the season winning 13 games in a row, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think they have 13 wins.
I don't think the A's have 13 wins yet. Let's look that up. They're on pace for like 30 wins, and the worst team in MLB history is 42. They're 11 and 45. I have faith that they can get like an August push where they win like 3 in a row, maybe. And I could see that. So I think they're gonna screw. I think they'll win. I think they'll win 46.
I think it's sad when you look at just what's going on with that. Like, that just can't happen in baseball, in my opinion. You just can't have a team that is so clearly just not trying to win, but not just like to tank, like literally just actively trying to lose every single game they play in.
I saw this thing that was funny. It was they said if the A's go into the AAA, I'm not sure they easily win the World Series.
I don't know that they do. I mean, their team is essentially guys who should be in AAA.
I think they win it in 6. I think they'll win the AAA World Series in 6 games.
I don't think they do. You look at
I don't know.
Like,
you look at the Orioles, got probably a pretty solid AAA team.
Yeah, I mean, I really think like it's different. Like when you see like the whole like would this team beat a college team? Like AAA is a legitimate professional guys, right? Like. And I don't know that you could call the A's right now a legitimate professional team.
Gosh, they are terrible. Yeah, that's enough of the depressing baseball news.
It just frustrates me because you see, like, it's a clear path. If they can just get a salary floor and you get every team spending money, the parity and the amount of teams relevant would really help the sport of baseball. If I'm an A's fan, why do I want to tune into the game?
And then people are saying they don't want them to sell the team, or like sell like.
They gotta relocate. That has to happen
because they're not making any money.
That's
so it makes sense that they're not spending money. I mean, they haven't had money for the last 3 decades.
But they're also making enough money where they can still.
Yeah.
They can field an MLB team if they would like.
Yeah.
I
And the worst part is I'm sure the owners are making money still.
Yeah, they can spend money if they want to.
Yeah.
And you see the graphics always of like if they just kept the team together, right? It's like Sean Murphy's your catcher. That's one of the best catchers. Yeah, Simeon. You have Matt Olson. You have Matt Chapman.
Josh Donaldson catching. Anyways, yeah, that's
Starling Marte was on them for a bit, right?
He was, yeah.
Although I don't know if they want this year's version of Starling.
Oh no, yeah, the Mets in general. You don't want anyone.
Except for Francisco Alvarez.
Except for Francisco Alvarez, and maybe Francisco Lindor.
And Pete Alonso, the league leader in home runs. Gotta show
the league leader in home runs, batting 800 with an 800 OPS.
So it'll be short lived, of course. Judge will have that home run title in 2 to 3 weeks, if not less.
Actually, I'm interested to see Pete Alonso's stats because Mets fans are really annoying. Pete Alonso, with a 910 OPS, is the best hitter in baseball. Aaron Judge's OPS,
I don't think anyone calls him the best hitter in baseball,
is 1.1. So Aaron Judge's is like about 280 points higher. So
I don't think anyone thinks Pete Alonso.
I didn't mean 200. I meant 100 and I meant 180. It's 177 higher.
Does anyone think Pete Alonso's better than Judge?
Probably a Mets fan. No. Anyways, we have a fun ranking today, based on our idea that we had on last episode. We're gonna rank the point guards since 2010, but we're not going by the positional point guard that you're gonna find on a roster. We're gonna go by the guys who are the primary ball handlers on NBA teams, and also it's by their peaks since 2010. So if you want to choose like a 2-season span, something like that, that's our ranking. So I know we're gonna disagree on one, but his one's gonna be my 2. Number 1, I'm gonna go with LeBron James in 2020. He played point guard for 1 season, and he won the NBA Finals. So with that, he's got to be my number 1. And your number 1 is gonna be, of course,
Houston Harden.
James Harden from 2017 to about 2019.
I basically until Westbrook out there. I think that Houston Harden was probably, he will go down in my opinion at least as the most underrated player.
It should have been a 3-time MVP, but Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yeah, I think like he put up 36 points per game in a season.
Well, that was just low. And he put up 37 the next year.
Did he? Whatever the year was, he didn't win MVP that year, right? Like, we aren't going to see someone put up those points again. He had a month where he was just only scoring like 50 points. And it wasn't just the scoring. It was
36.
He was probably the most, or one of the most talented passers in the league at that time. And I think actually I'd extend his reign of being point guard to his time on the Nets. He led the league in assists, I believe, when he was on the Nets, at least per game, I think.
Yeah, he had 11.
And he was, he orchestrates an offense.
He didn't lead the league, though.
Who had more assists per game?
I'm not sure. But,
might have been Trey.
He led the league in 2016 with 11. It might have been Trey. Yeah, that's a good call.
When you look at those Houston teams, right, pre Chris Paul, we'll say, he had, it was Eric Gordon, right? It was Clint Capella, it was PJ Tucker, and it was like Ryan Anderson, right? They're guys, right? But he had that as one of the most efficient offenses. The way he orchestrated that offense was absolutely masterful. And obviously no disrespect to LeBron. I just think at that point in LeBron's career, when he had transitioned to point guard, he wasn't as effective as he was in his prime. That was when we were starting to see, obviously he was still LeBron, but a little bit of regression, a little bit less explosiveness. And I think he benefited from being able to just run a pick and roll with AD.
Yeah, so I just have LeBron at number 1 because he was able to put up 25 and 10, shooting the ball 35% from 3 and 50% from the field, and was able to win a ring. Led the league in assists and was able to get 8 rebounds a game from that point guard position. And when you look at the supporting cast he had Anthony Davis, but that team,
that was a good supporting cast.
It was a good supporting cast, and they played well. And of course he had the bubble, and of course I don't know if they win the ring if they don't get the bubble.
No, they do. They do.
Yeah. I just think LeBron in that season, I think that's LeBron's second best season of all time.
No.
But he also played point guard in the following year, but he didn't really get to play a full season, so I'm not going to really include that. I'm just including his bubble year.
But you're going to take him doing it for 1 year, right?
I'm just going with the peak. I mean, I got James Harden at number 2. You know what the funny thing is James Harden did it for 4 seasons and didn't win a ring, and LeBron did it for a season and won a ring.
LeBron did not have to play the KD Warriors.
LeBron needed to play. Who did they beat?
They beat the Nuggets, who were exhausted because they had played 2 Game 7s in a row, having to come back from 3-1.
No,
They
the
played
Miami Heat.
The Trailblazers in the first round.
Yeah.
To be fair, though, going into that series, everyone was like, the
Well,
greatest
the thing is,
8 seed of all time.
Well, who, the Trailblazers? Yeah, they got swept, right?
No,
they lost in 5. Well, LeBron did have to play the KD Warriors. He just got swept.
not as point guard.
Yeah, as a power forward.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. James Harden as point guard would have won, and also again a little bit suspect. And
That's like 6 years ago. I got James Harden at number 2. Who's your number 2?
we're going since 2010.
Yeah.
I'm gonna value the longevity of a Chris Paul.
I knew that too. I was about to write it down before you even said it.
Because I don't know. I mean, you look at the Clippers. The one thing with him is obviously we know he could not get over that hump. And do we think he's gonna win a championship at this point in his career? No, we don't.
Yeah. So.
But the Clippers, obviously, he was the floor general of that team, and he really brought DeAndre Jordan's career. He kind of created it. Because, I mean, DJ was a lob catching big, right? And Chris Paul just fed him. And then we look at, to me, I think the crowning achievement of Chris Paul is that Thunder team that he took to the playoffs. That was the point god.
That was the
here,
point
in my
god,
opinion.
Chris Paul.
Right?
Yeah,
Like,
that was when he
come
was
on.
really good.
That no one expected that team to make the playoffs. He brought them there, and he brought them to a Game 7 versus my number 1 player on the list, James Harden.
Yeah, and then that's when James Harden played his best defense of his career in that game.
Yep, locked up Lou Dort.
Number 3, I'm going to go with Steph Curry. I mean, he's got 4 rings, so.
I'm not counting Steph Curry as a point guard for my list.
Who are you going to put, Draymond Green?
I just don't. If you said
Fine, I'll put Draymond Green at 3.
You said
he's
that
got 4 rings.
the point guard was the primary ball handler. If you're gonna count,
yeah, but Steph Curry is the primary ball handler when they need a bucket.
I think if you count LeBron as a point guard, you can't count Steph as a point guard.
Number 3, Luka Doncic. You went with James Harden. I'm gonna go with Luka Doncic over Chris Paul. They both have the same amount of rings.
I'm
so
putting LeBron.
LeBron at number 3.
Yeah.
And I'll put CP3 at 4. And by the way, I don't like putting CP3 at 4 because CP3 has never won a ring. So
my 4 is Westbrook.
And I agree, Westbrook.
I
honestly wish I put Westbrook ahead of CP3.
So here's the thing: we're ranking just off of point guarding, not the best
so
player.
CP3 is a better
point guard.
Is a better point guard. I know. I just don't.
If
like
I
CP3.
was going,
I do like CP3, but
if I was going all time, Westbrook is the better player all time. If I was making,
I'm just trying to figure out when I'm gonna put Jalen Brunson in here. So, yeah, I agree. Westbrook is definitely there. You are behind a guy, by the way.
What do you mean?
But you have 4 and I have 5.
Oh, you put Westbrook on?
I have Luka.
Who do I? Well, how many spots are we doing for this? 10.
I would probably do 7.
7. 7's an interesting number.
It's a great number. It's a number of rings that Jordan would have had if he didn't choke in '95. But no one talks about.
He didn't choke. He just came back from a hiatus.
No. All right, let's look into this.
He didn't. He might not have played up to standards, but he just came back from playing baseball for 2 years. He did choke, undoubtedly, but
no. He came back.
It was
from a gambling fine.
He did choke, but it was because of the fact that he wasn't in basketball shape.
Game 6, Michael Jordan played pretty solid. 24 points. But when LeBron does it, he sucks. Michael Jordan did it when he was like 35. But since not 35. Michael Jordan did it when he was like 33. But since LeBron did it when he was 40, LeBron sucks. Anyways, that's a tangent. Who's your number 5 guy?
I feel like I'm forgetting someone from earlier on in the decade. We're doing since
2010. Since 2010. So it's like a 13-year.
Yeah. So since 2010, Darren Williams wouldn't be on there.
No.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not counting Kyrie for this. I guess I'd go Luka here.
Okay. Yeah, so we have the same 5 guys, just different order. And it's like not even that different. It's all arguable.
I think I know who my 6 would be.
Gosh, I hope I'm not missing anyone. I have to think for a second for my 6. Do you want to say your 6?
My 6 is a guy who's still in the playoffs. It's Kyle Lowry.
Probably. All right. I want to put like Jokic.
No.
He's a primary ball handler.
No.
What about 2015 Giannis?
No.
Okay. That was a primary ball handler. He just sucked.
Kyle Lowry deserves to be there. I mean, those regular season Raptors teams were great, until they played LeBron, and then
I know who I'm going with.
They
finish your.
He did get the championship, right?
Oh, by the way, you could definitely go with Darren Williams. He won a ring. I know he didn't.
No, around 2010 was the beginning of his fall
off. What was I gonna say? I forget his name.
Tony Parker? You forgot Tony Parker?
Yeah, Tony Parker. I'm going with Tony Parker.
No.
Tony Parker.
If we're doing since 2010, Tony Parker is there.
Well, we're just doing peaks.
I'm going
Steph Curry. Steph Curry. And I'm moving everyone down. Steph Curry is going right after James Harden. I'm putting Steph Curry on there. When the game matters, Steph Curry takes the ball in his hands and
he
misses the shot. And then number 7, I'm going Kyle Lowry. It's my list. Steph Curry's number 3.
Not on my list.
Who's your number 7?
I don't know. I have a couple guys in mind. None of them are really great.
Who do you have in mind?
Dragic?
No. No.
Hey, he has the longevity. He's an All-NBA player.
The Dragon.
But I'm not going to go Dragic. Kemba, I thought about.
I don't hate that.
But he was whatever. And then the king of the fourth quarter, Isaiah Thomas, I thought of.
Oh.
I think I would go IT.
Okay.
Just
not bad. All right, so we only did 7 people.
Yeah, I don't think we could drag that list out any longer because then Dragic would be appearing on it.
So my list was LeBron, Harden, Curry, Doncic, CP3, Westbrook, Kyle Lowry, and then Matt had Harden, CP3, LeBron, Westbrook, Luka, Kyle Lowry, and Isaiah Thomas.
I thought about Mike Conley too, by the way.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Mike Conley does have the longevity case. That dude has been solid for how long now? And he did get that All-Star where he was like 3rd replacement. I wish he didn't get the All-Star because then everyone would remember him as the best player to not get an All-Star. But now he has one, so now he's kind of forgotten. But I don't know. IT in his peak, like,
Rondo. Oh gosh.
No.
He had 12 assists per game
and since 2010, Rondo doesn't go there. Rondo.
In Sacramento, he had 12 assists per game. And in 2012, he had 12 assists per game. No. Anyways, yeah, so that'll be the final list.
Was pre-2010.
It was. Anyways.
Harden, CP3, LeBron, Westbrook, Luka, Kyle Lowry, Isaiah Thomas is the definitive list.
There you go. It's on Basketball Reference. That is the top 7 point guard since 2010.
Best list.
All right, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Sideline Show, episode 7. It's a longer episode, so if you made it to the end, we really appreciate it. Subscribe.
Oh, I have the data.
What's the percent of subscribers?
Ready?
Yeah.
It's 65 not subscribed, 35
Come on,
subscribed.
guys. Come on. Let's get those numbers up. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys have a great day, and tune in next time. Thank you. 65% not subscribed.
I know. Why?
What are they doing?
Wild. You just gotta hit the red button.